back to the channel. I've got just a couple of minutes to give you a quick update on our shoot last week down in the Forgotten Coast of Florida. We were shooting for another 4 days. It was just me and my sound mixer, and we filmed with 5 characters, or potential characters, that are going to be in the documentary. And I use the word potential characters right now because technically we are still in development. And so I kind of wanted to share how that process is going for me today and give you a little background on what the significance of development filming is and the types of things that you'll be wanting to work on while in development for your own films. So when we talk about development filming, what that means is it's filming that's taking place really before the meat of production begins on your project. During development, you're still trying to figure out what exactly the story is. You're trying to figure out who the characters are and what their relationship is to that story and to other characters in the film. For this film, I knew when starting out that I wanted to make a food documentary. And the plan was to make a food documentary from a place in the world that was close to where I grew up. And I knew in that location, the Forgotten Coast of Florida, I knew that there weren't a whole lot of stories that were coming out of that area of the world. And so I really wanted to tell a story about that place. And so what I'm juggling with now in the development process is trying to figure out what is the best way that I can tell the story that I want to tell, considering the fact that the story that I want to tell may not be the story that's actually there. So in my mind, I want to tell a story about food, specifically oysters, and I also want to create a portrait of that area and the people who call themselves oyster farmers in that area. In that respect, character development, story development is very important to me. And so I'm thinking to myself that yes, I want to make sure that the characters feel real, that the places feel real, but at the same time too, there are also so many things that I want to share with the general audience about oyster farming and the ecological benefits of oyster farming, and also the foodie element of oysters and how they're prepped in oyster dive bars down in Wakulla County, Florida, but also in restaurants like The Gray in Savannah or Pesh in New Orleans. And so I want to show the entire gamut about how this most celebrated of seafoods is prepared. And so in my mind right now, I'm heading towards, or at least I think I'm heading towards, this film that is equal parts educational and informational, but also character development. It's easier said than done, and this part of the process can be a little painful because you set out to make the film that you think you want to make, but it may not be the film or the story that's actually there. And so basically the 3 questions that are sort of guiding my development filming are: what is the story I think I want to tell? Who are the characters that are living and breathing this story? And how are they connected to that story into other characters? If I were going to simplify that even more and distill those down into like 3 shorter questions, it would be very simply, and this is an oversimplification: what is happening? Who is it happening to, and why should I care? Why, as an audience member, should I care about this? Every conversation, every interview, every scene that we film, I'm thinking about it and approaching it through the lens of these 3 questions. And so that's not to oversimplify this at all. It's a very tall order to answer these 3 seemingly simple questions. But what I like about these questions, or at least this framework, is that it gets me thinking about the types of questions I need to be answering in order to see a story arc that is clear and that can be made into a film and communicated to an audience, a general audience at that, over the course of 90 minutes. It's my job to go and actually whittle away the excess and present something that's very clear so that an audience can, in 90 minutes, actually live and breathe that world for a little bit. And so there are actually 3 ways that I'm going about development that are kind of helping me get through the process and that are helping me work through some of the problems that I'm encountering in development. And so the first one is process equals progress. I'm trusting in the process of development. Development's about asking these questions, gathering information, the what is happening, who is it happening to, and why should I care, and combining all of that into this coherent whole. I think that it's our commitment to this process of going and trying to answer these simple questions over and over again, rinsing and repeating, filming, doing pre-interviews, coming back, synthesizing that information. It's our commitment to that process that's going to determine our progress. Gather information, synthesize, adjust your course, and repeat. And do that over and over and over again until patterns start to emerge in your footage, in your interviews, in the sound bites that you're gathering. And then that'll help give you more confidence that the direction that you're heading is a viable direction for the film. Or maybe it's giving you the signals that you need to course correct a little bit and shift the story, maybe even find additional characters. So that's the first thing. Trust in the process. Process equals progress. Second is reference films. If you watch great documentaries through the lens of these development questions, what is happening, who's it happening to, and why do I care? Why am I drawn to this? I think it might give you a lot of insights into how you can approach answering those questions in your own project. For me, I'm trying to find those documentaries that are food documentaries, but also do a really good job of character development and verite. I don't want to just learn. I want to see the human condition. I think that that's a really cool thing that documentaries can do. And last but not least, and this may seem obvious, but in development filming, actually starting to record some interviews with your characters. And so I think it's a good practice for letting your characters sort of open up a little bit. But for me, these early interviews are a gold mine of information because yes, I've had phone conversations with them. I've talked to them on the phone, sent emails about subject matter or about the subject matter of the film. I've heard their take on a couple of issues related to the film, what their day is like being an oyster farmer. But to actually get that in the can, to actually record that, and then for me to be able to go back and play it back later and find some subtleties that maybe I missed during the interview, that's been a gold mine. And so those are the three things that I'm using to sort of work through this painful process of development filming. Let's go over them again. Trust the process. Process equals progress. I'm looking at reference films, watching good documentaries, seeing how they're approaching these questions, seeing how maybe they approached the development process. Or even here, I challenge you, if you're in development, try and reach out to some of these filmmakers whose documentaries you're watching as reference films. See if they'll sit down with you for 30-minute call, and just pick their brain a little bit. I bet you they'd probably go for it. And last but not least, I'm getting some early interviews in the can. That way I can bring sound bites onto the timeline. Even if I don't use them, I've got them. I can start working through this information. I can always go back and get some of those sound bites in a different take. And so that's it, guys. I want to leave you with that update real quick before I head across the pond. If you have any questions about your own projects, please feel free to reach out, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.